The film opens with Boss, a gangster who sells a drug known as hype. This was no ordinary drug. Once someone used it, they immediately wanted another dose. Almost every American was becoming a violent zombie because of this drug. But now the supply had become scarce. Those addicted to hype were known as hypers, and when they could not get it, they caused destruction throughout America. They killed innocent people, while chaos spread through the city streets. All the hypers gathered around Boss's territory, hoping to receive even a tiny dose of hype. However, Boss planned to sell his remaining supply for an extremely high price. Nearby, a man approaches a woman hoping to obtain drugs, but she suddenly attacks him with a huge knife, splitting his head apart. Moments later, another girl stumbles into the area searching for drugs. Hype has destroyed not only her organs but her entire body as well. She is completely out of control, yet her craving remains. One of the men shows her a small amount of hype and pretends to throw it away. Without hesitation, the girl jumps down to retrieve it. Her body is severely damaged by the fall, killing her instantly. We are then shown the devastated condition of America. Most ordinary citizens have escaped. Only hypers and people capable of defending themselves remain. Among these survivors is Fred, a retired military officer. He continues enjoying his life in America alongside other retired soldiers. Directly opposite their location, Boss operates his drug business. Inside Boss's territory, we meet Elizabeth, the sister of the girl who previously fell to her death. After seeing her sister's body, Elizabeth is heartbroken and angrily stares at Boss. However, she is powerless for the moment. She waits until Boss leaves, then steals his drug supply and runs away. Unfortunately, her escape does not go unnoticed when Boss sees her and starts shooting. Elizabeth manages to escape by a narrow margin. But Boss cannot simply allow his drugs to disappear. He commands his men to chase Elizabeth and recover the stolen supply. Meanwhile, Fred is preparing to spend time relaxing with his fellow veterans. Suddenly, Elizabeth rushes inside, desperately looking for somewhere to hide, while two of Boss's men chase her. The men believe Fred and his companions are protecting Elizabeth. After entering, one of the henchmen attacks. Fred becomes furious, pulls out his shotgun and shoots the attacker. The remaining henchman runs away in terror. At that moment, a huge group of hypers begins approaching. Before they can get inside, Fred quickly shuts the door. However, one hyper gets his hand trapped in the doorway, forcing Fred to cut it off. Soon, another man attempts to enter through the back door, where one of Boss's associates is waiting. She viciously kills him with a giant mace, leaving Fred and his companions shocked. Using their military experience, they decide to fall back into the bar and defend themselves there. They secure the building before the hypers or Boss's men can enter, locking every door and window. One of Fred's men suggests throwing Elizabeth outside to protect themselves. Fred refuses and says, "We are soldiers. We cannot do that. She came to us for help, and we will protect her." Motivated by Fred's words, the men regain their courage and decide to fight. Fred notices a truck outside loaded with weapons and decides to retrieve them. As soon as he reaches the truck, the same woman attacks him. Fred defends himself by stabbing her from behind with his keys, killing her. At the same time, a hyper moves toward Fred to attack. Before he can strike, a gunshot suddenly kills him. Fred's companion has shot the hyper from behind. He then notices more hypers charging toward them. Without wasting time, he begins shooting them down one after another. However, there are far too many hypers for them to handle alone, so they quickly retreat into the bar. They sit Elizabeth down and demand to know why Boss's men are after her. Elizabeth remains quiet, despite realizing that they are genuinely trying to help her. Before the conversation can continue, one of Fred's men discovers a bag hidden inside the bathroom, which Elizabeth had placed there earlier. Inside the bag is a huge supply of the drug she stole. Fred's companion suggests giving the hype back to Boss so they can survive. Elizabeth warns them that this will not save them. Boss will kill everyone anyway because they killed his brother. The group begins preparing their weapons for the battle against the mob outside. Outside, another of Boss's henchmen stands near the bar entrance and repeatedly knocks on the door. When nobody opens it, he grabs a hyper and smashes his head against the door. The man dies, and the door breaks apart. Immediately, the hypers and Boss's men storm inside and attack. The veterans fight the incoming horde using their weapons. One of Boss's most powerful henchmen receives such a brutal beating that he eventually dies. After the violent battle, everyone is exhausted and badly injured. One of Fred's men is critically wounded and no longer wants to continue fighting. He decides to negotiate with Boss. However, just as Elizabeth predicted, Boss refuses the offer. He tells him, "I will take my drugs back, but I am still going to kill you for my brother's death." Boss's associate then cuts the man's throat, killing him immediately. Fred had brought a packet of hype, hoping to exchange it for his friend's life. After witnessing the execution, he is devastated and attempts to escape. But Boss shoots him in the leg from behind. Seriously wounded, Fred barely manages to crawl back toward the bar. His companions pull him inside and lock the door. After losing another close friend, Fred becomes completely hopeless and goes into the bathroom to drink. Elizabeth sees him giving up and tells him, "The dead are gone. You cannot sit here mourning while the living are still in danger. Fight for them." Her words restore his courage, and Fred leaves the bathroom to find his defeated comrades. He motivates them, and together they prepare for one final battle. One veteran takes a powerful dose of hype to gain strength comparable to the hypers, while the others prepare their weapons. Suddenly, the hypers break through the bar entrance again. As they charge inside, one of Fred's men throws a packet of hype into the air and shoots it. The drug spreads throughout the room. Driven insane by the hype, the hypers lose control and begin attacking Boss's men instead of Fred's group. During the confusion, another of Fred's companions grabs a chainsaw and brutally cuts his way forward to protect everyone. But their ammunition is running out, and they must reach the weapon truck. The man uses his chainsaw to clear a path, allowing the group to move ahead safely. Along the way, they encounter one of Boss's most dangerous associates, who is carrying a large machete. Before she can attack another ally, Fred stabs her from behind with a sharp weapon. As she collapses, he drives a rod through her mouth, pinning her in place. Fred struggles to reach Elizabeth because of his badly injured leg. Suddenly, Boss appears with Elizabeth held hostage. Fred points his weapon at him, while Boss prepares to fire. To save Fred, Elizabeth quickly lights a packet of hype in Boss's hand. Boss panics, giving Elizabeth enough time to escape. Once she is free, Fred shoots at Boss. At the same moment, one of Fred's companions drives the weapon truck directly into Boss, killing him. The impact causes a huge explosion because of the weapon stored inside. Fred's ally dies in the blast, leaving him devastated. Elizabeth helps Fred back inside, where they discover that only 2 members of their group have survived. While they mourn those they lost, Fred discovers a hidden packet of hype inside the cabin. Everyone is surprised by the discovery. Elizabeth explains that she had kept this supply as a reward for Fred protecting her. Selling the hype will provide Fred with enough money to rebuild his bar. Feeling grateful and relieved, the remaining survivors look toward the future as the film comes to an end.